When everything becomes politics, what's a geek to do? Well, we're going to talk about that and more on today's episode of the Geek Watch Podcast.
This is the Geek Watch Podcast with Brian Hatcher and Mandy Petrie.
Greetings, Geek Watchers, and welcome to episode 261 of the Geek Watch Podcast. I'm Brian Hatcher, and with me, as always, Geek Watch's very own resident geek goddess, Mandy Petrie.
Hello, Brian.
We've talked about this before. We were talking about the sale of Warner Brothers, and we talked about how Netflix had won the bidding and how fortunate that we were that Paramount hadn't won the bidding.
Mm-hmm.
Scratch all that. Today's a new day. And so Paramount put in a new bid, and it was a much higher bid than what Netflix put in. So because of the terms of the deal, Netflix was allowed to beat that deal of offering more money. And they said the amount of money that we were going to spend on it was enough to make it attractive to us, but purchasing Warner Brothers was attractive if the price was right. It's not a situation where it's a must-have at any price. We're not interested in buying Warner Brothers for that amount of money. You can have it. And so here we are. Paramount is now going to purchase Warner Brothers. And from what we understand, a lot of what I've been seeing online, where Netflix was going to have Warner Brothers be their own thing, Paramount is going to absorb them, which means that there may still be films that are Warner Brothers films, although that's not guaranteed. But HBO Max is definitely going away. It's all going to become Paramount Plus, which is strange to me because Paramount Plus as a brand does not have the cachet that HBO does for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
Because HBO is just like a decade younger than I am. Mm-hmm. I remember as a kid when we first got HBO.
Yeah, and then they started making really quality TV.
Yeah.
You know, in the 90s till today, they're still making great quality TV.
And there are a lot of things about this deal that are screwy. For Paramount to get this deal, first of all, because of the deal that was already in place with Netflix, for backing out of the contract, Netflix is supposed to get $7.5 billion, that's with a B, $billion as a consolation, and Paramount will have to pay that.
Excellent. I hope that they use that money to bring back Chaos and Santa Clarita Diet.
It'd be nice. And because they're backing out, they're going to have to pay that billions of dollars to Netflix to allow them to do that. And then it becomes an issue where they've got to figure out their own financing. Because here's the other thing. The amount of debt that they're putting themselves into, the debt that Paramount already has on hand, they are adding all the debt that Warner Brothers has on top of it. And so the amount of debt that they're accumulating is much more, because we're talking billions of dollars of debt, 20-some billion dollars, I think, in debt, is more money than Disney spent to get 20th Century Fox. And debt for this studio has already become disastrous for them. They haven't had a lot of luck with movies recently. But now that they're pulling the extra debt that Warner Brothers has, or the possibility that they will, Wall Street has already taken their swings at them. They have lowered their credit score. Their credit score used to be 3B minus, and now it's a BB plus. And I'm not going to get into a whole lot of
detail. If you could see my listeners, if you could see my face, you would see the absolute confusion on my face. I have no idea what that means.
Yeah, that kind of a drop puts them in what that would be categorized as a junk company. And what that means is Paramount is now looked at by Wall Street as a business that is risky and dangerous to invest in. And that means a bunch of different things. That means that when they decide to borrow money, they're going to have to borrow money at a higher rate. It's just like if you have lousy credit.
Yeah.
You know, if you're getting a car loan. And so since they're considered a bigger risk, any money that they borrow is going to be at a higher rate. They're going to have to pay more money back. And for studios, when they pay to make movies, they're not pulling it out of a vault. Very often they borrow that money. And so now it becomes more expensive for them to do the one thing they need to do to make money. So they're going to be pulling less profits before the cameras even start to roll. Also, if you're a junk company, it's now illegal for investment companies to have you in their portfolio. So any investment companies that are holding Paramount stock, they got to sell it. They got to get rid of it. They got to dump it. They can't legally hold on to it and see what happens. And because of that, because they are considered junk, and because they're holding on to so much debt, it means that this is a company that will be holding more debt than the amount of money coming in. And Wall Street ain't done with them because they said, we're going to put them on a watch, which means we're going to see how things go because we don't know if this deal is going to go through or whatever. We've already dropped your credit score, but we're going to see what winds up happening. If it gets worse, we're going to drop your score even farther into the basement. Now, that has opened up a Pandora's box because Paramount is going to have to borrow the money that they're going to use to buy Warner Brothers. So at that point, it becomes even more expensive. And there's talk that maybe they will not be able to borrow that much money. And if they can't borrow the money, they're going to owe Warner Brothers $7+ billion to back out of the deal. So Warner Brothers will get a chunk of change and they'll just go off on their own way. Maybe they'll go back to Netflix and go, are you still interested? Which I'm thinking maybe Netflix is thinking is going to happen. And so they're like, fine, we'll take our $7 billion from Paramount.
Broken deal.
And then we'll come back later. We maybe can pull a better deal and some guarantees because, hey, you pulled out of the deal last time. What reassurances are we going to get this time? You're going to have to cut us a better deal. And so $7 billion plus a better deal could be pretty good. And for Warner Brothers / Paramount to become profitable, they're going to need to make 30 movies a year. That's what they were promising, 30 movies a year. Well, doesn't that sound great? How are they going to afford all of those movies? And how are they going to guarantee any of them are going to be successes? I mean, this is an absolute cluster right now.
They'll end up being like Hallmark. Hallmark makes 30 movies a year, but
yeah,
they're all the exact same thing.
And they're made extremely cheaply. I don't know where this goes. This is crazy. And the thing about it is most of what's driving a lot of this deal is political. And I don't want to get into the whole mess about that. But because of the political aspects of this deal, they're already saying that James Gunn is looking to jump ship. That he's going to go to Zaslav and say, let me out of the contract. They're going to try to get rid of me anyway. There's no point in waiting. And then he becomes the hot property, the free agent that everybody's going to want to get their hands on. Now the new DC cinematic universe they were trying to create goes out the window because you've lost your guy. And so it gets killed before it even gets started. Again, it's just like this whole thing is becoming a cluster. And then on top of all of this, AMC stock has dropped to like $1 a share now. One of the biggest movie theater chains in America.
Yeah.
Their stock is bottoming out. When CinemaCon hits this year, it's going to be really interesting to see what's said because Paramount and Warner Brothers are scheduled to speak at CinemaCon. And I wonder what they're going to have to say. I really do. This whole thing is like a seething mess. And
it sounds like it.
Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen. But I can definitely tell you this. The fact that we're getting fewer studios out there and we're getting these big conglomerate studios, it's not good for anything.
Big monopolies, yeah.
Yeah, because it's limiting our choices. And studios are getting like real weird on things. Disney, well, we talked about how they've cut Doctor Who loose.
Yep.
And it looks like they're definitely not going to be showing the war between the land and the sea. They're just not going to show it. And so that's floating out into wherever. And I've been hearing all kinds of rumors of where Doctor Who is going to wind up. But as of right now, we don't have any idea. All we know is that there's supposed to be a Christmas episode coming somehow. But are you and I going to get to see it? We're still waiting for the war between the land and the sea, and we're not getting that. And we might not ever get it. That's the thing. Is the BBC going to have to spend money to buy that show back from Disney so they can show it somewhere else? They might not even have the ability to show it somewhere else unless they pay some money or something. I don't know.
don't know. Does BritBox have its own studio like Netflix does, or does it just show TV shows?
I don't think they have their own studio.
Mm-hmm.
The thing about it is this, BritBox, I don't know if they have the market saturation needed
Mm-hmm.
to make enough money to start doing Doctor Who on BritBox exclusively.
Mm-hmm.
I've been hearing rumors, and I don't know where this is coming from. This might just be wishful thinking on the part of a lot of people, but I've seen Netflix floated as a possibility
Okay.
with the fact that HBO Max is going away and they had the rights to the old school Doctor Who episodes. There's a possibility that we might see Doctor Who unified on a channel somewhere. Netflix seems to make the most sense to me because Netflix does, in fact, in Phoenix, Arizona, have their own studios.
Yep.
So you could make Doctor Who there. But again, where the future of all that goes, I don't know. But with all of this weirdness and all this confusion, what's a geek to do? Here's what I've been doing. I've been watching the old stuff. I've been going back, and there are a lot of old shows that are out there in streaming that we can now start getting caught up on.
Mm-hmm.
Have you not seen all the seasons of Stranger Things? Go for it. Go watch them.
Have you started watching it now?
Here's what I have been watching, because this is how far back I'm going. I've started watching a show that the first season aired before I was born. A year before I was born, which was 1966, we saw the first episodes of Dark Shadows aired.
Dark Shadows! Oh my goodness, Brian.
I'm going old school.
That is fantastic. Oh, the original goth soap opera. That is fantastic. Yes. Barnabas Collins.
Yeah. So
yes, back when they didn't even rehearse, they shot straight live and the bloopers and everything. That's fantastic.
So yeah, live shots, but also with special effects, which sometimes they're very special. Mm-hmm. Sometimes they work, sometimes they didn't. Mm-hmm. But yes.
Pepper's Ghost.
Yeah, there's a lot of those kind of digital things. And I'm watching season 1. They are on Amazon Prime. And I have seen episodes before. I remember as a child, I would spend time at my grandmother's house, and one of the independent stations, they were running episodes of Dark Shadows, and I was watching them. And so I decided, what the heck? I've got a lot of free time now. I'm going to start watching more Dark Shadows. I'm going to start with season 1, and I've gotten through probably about 6 or 7 episodes at this point. It's been really wonderful watching that and getting wrapped up into that story.
Yeah,
again.
Watching documentaries about vampires. They talked about Barnabas Collins probably being the first recorded vampire who felt guilt over having to take human life. Before that, it was always a Dracula or something along that, that was just a part of his being, a part of his appeal and everything. And Barnabas Collins was really groundbreaking with the vampire lore. So that is very cool.
And it's weird to say this because, of course, the show started in 1966, but at the time, it's like you brought a vampire into the modern world, which they hadn't done before. Of course, as modern as 1966 was then. Yes. But it has been fun revisiting that again and watching that story develop. Like I said, I know a little bit about it, obviously. I watched a lot of it as a kid. Yes. But there's a lot of stuff out there that we can now revisit because the new stuff, it's a toss-up what we're going to see anymore. I am seeing so many remakes and retreads. Mike Flanagan is coming out with a new version of Carrie.
Okay, so that will be 4 movies now?
Yeah.
Okay.
What's going to be interesting about this movie is he is going to bring up to date the idea of bullying at school. Because in modern times, the bullying doesn't stop when you leave.
It keeps going online. Yeah.
Yes. And so he's going to play into a lot of that as well. He's going to make this a modern Carrie where the realities of bullying in the modern world is a bigger thing now than what it was.
Excellent. And I can't remember if I've seen a trailer for it or not, but The Institute. That's the next Stephen King. And knowing that all of Stephen King's, they all happen in the same universe. So we know that Carrie is Shining.
Yeah.
Carrie has The Shining. Danny Torrance has The Shining. Charlie and Firestarter had The Shining. So the Institute gathers up these children that had The Shining and takes them into the Institute and uses their psychic powers. So I've often thought as like, Carrie was born at home. So they probably missed Carrie that way. But how did they miss Danny Torrance? And those are the kinds of things, like, I would love to see the tie-in stories about Stephen King telling us how the Institute missed, and Blackthorn from Dr. Sleep missed out. How did they miss Charlie? I would love to see those
I do
stories.
believe in the book that there are some references to Charlie in there. And I think there's some references to other children with The Shining.
Yep.
And
of course, they call it TKs and TPs.
Right.
Telekinetics and telepathics. So Danny Torrance was telepathic and Carrie was a TK, a telekinetic.
Yeah.
And the main character in the Institute is a TK. But in the story, he's like 9 to 11-year-old.
Yeah.
I think they are making him a teenager to kind of give it those modern kind of what we expect from teens rebelling against corrupt institutions like the Institution. So I'm definitely looking forward to that, but it's very exciting.
Yeah.
And even a lot of the Losers Club, I think they probably had the shine.
Very possibly. And of course, the Welcome to Derry is getting its second season. And it's interesting because Pennywise, being a cosmic being, doesn't sense time the way that we do. And so the ability of having a linear story, but he's going back in time and farther back in time. The fact that Welcome to Derry was supposed to be a prequel, but he knows what his fate is in the movies. He doesn't see time in the same way. He knows who Richie's mother is because Richie's mother is in Welcome to Derry. Is one of the characters.
I knew Dick Halloran was in. I haven't watched it yet. I knew Dick Halloran was in from The Shining.
Yeah. So there's definitely shows out there to check out. If you've never seen any of Supernatural.
Oh my gosh, 15 years.
Yeah, 15 years of
to catch up on.
Yeah, it's just sitting out there waiting for you. And there are books as well. I finished the N.K. Jemisin series, the Broken Earth series. And that was amazing. And I've been dipping into a little bit of Brandon Sanderson. But also, this was a book that you said that I don't know if you've gotten it yet or started it yet, King Sorrow.
I do have King Sorrow downloaded. I haven't read it yet, but I thought we were going to talk about Dungeon Crawler Carl because so many people have told me, because they know I game, people have told me about reading Dungeon Crawler Carl.
Yes, it's part of a new genre of literature known as LitRPG. And there's a lot of that type of book out now where it's like there's this genre of fantasy that feels very much like a role-playing game. And there are certain rules to this genre, like there are to many genres, which I find ironic because there have been a lot of publications, magazine publications, and one off the top of my head that I'm definitely thinking of is Clark's World, which is an online publication that is known for the very high quality and therefore the very high pay rates of fiction that they purchase. But in their submission guidelines, they list a bunch of stories they don't want to see. And a lot of them make sense. They don't want to see a story where a man and a woman in a spaceship crash on an abandoned planet and
become Adam and Eve?
Yes.
Okay. So that episode of The Twilight Zone is a no. Okay.
Yeah, because they get a ton of them. But one of the things that they say we definitely don't want to see is we don't want to see a story based off your D&D campaign.
Oh, come on. Okay, I get it.
Well, that's been a rule for a long time, and I understand that because not all D&D campaigns make for good stories. But now there's a whole genre of that stuff. And again, it's a genre that has its own rules. For example, the main character has to level up. And what that means is there has to be this feeling that this character is getting more powerful as the story goes on because they are leveling up.
Yes,
exactly. So you have to at least feel that this leveling up is happening. So that's a big rule in LitRPG. You've got that, again, that whole genre of story. Going back to King Sorrow, you said that you've already
I've downloaded it. I haven't listened to it yet.
When did you download it?
When?
Yeah, when did you?
I don't know, a while back.
It's been a minute.
Yeah, it's sitting in my Audible.
Oh, you downloaded the audio book.
Yeah.
Yeah, I downloaded the book. I haven't started it yet. But some people are going to hate me for this. I don't know if this is a deal that's still available. I do have Kindle Unlimited. Because of that, I got to borrow the book for free.
Nice.
So when I can get around to reading it, I've got plenty of time, but I didn't even pay for it. So I don't know how Joe Hill gets money for that. I hope that he does. He should.
Yeah, he's making money still off Nosferatu and Horns. He's fine.
Well,
he's fine.
If you don't have Kindle Unlimited, the deal was like for $2.99 you could buy the book for your Kindle. But I didn't even spend the $2.99. I just downloaded it for free. But I don't know how all of that works or how authors are supposed to get paid for that. I've got that sitting on the Kindle ready to go. Most of the books I'm reading at this point are still like actual books.
Yes.
I haven't.
With pages.
Like
you
pages.
Could turn.
Exactly. You know, the smell of the paper, the joy of the library, which has been a bit of a challenge for the Brandon Sanderson book that I'm reading, The Way of Kings, because it's a paperback book, but it's 1,000 pages. It's a very thick paperback book. I am hoping I can get hardbacks from the library because at 1,000 pages of paperback, like I said, it's a bit of a challenge holding the book open, but it's also the shortest book in the series. I'm wondering, however, if I should not apply the same rule to my book series that I do with my TV series, which is I don't get started on one until it's over. And for people who read a lot of fantasy, they're like, he's going to mention Patrick Rothfuss or he's going to mention George R.R. Martin.
Yep.
I'm going to try not to, except I already did, so it's too freaking late. But there's that pain of starting a series and waiting for the next book to come out and not sure that it's going to. And the series, the Stormlight Chronicles, which is the first book, of course, being The Way of Kings, is not completed yet. And so is it going to get completed? I would say that Brandon Sanderson tends to be a person who completes series because he has before. In fact, he's so good at completing series that he completed the Wheel of Time series. So he's completing other people's series on top of
not his own.
Not his own. Well, some of his own he has, but there are a bunch of books. There's supposed to be like, I want to say 7 or 9 maybe total in the Stormlight Chronicles. There's only 4 out at this point. And these are big honking books. So the question is, are we about ready to start a new series and maybe get hung out to dry? I don't know. But these books are really meaty. They are introducing new characters to you when you're about 2/3 of the way through the book. So that's one thing that they said about this series by Sanderson, that it is a very meaty series to dive into because there are tons of characters, there's tons of setup. He is very much into the lore. His tabletop role-playing game is based off of his writing. And so he has this very intricate, very heavily detailed magic system that he was able to turn into a tabletop role-playing game. And so he's very much into the lore. He's very much into heavy narrative, lots of characters. And for some people, that might be a little bit too much to sink your teeth into. But right now, I've enjoyed as much as I've read so far. I'm just really dipping my toe in it. At this point, because at 1,000 pages, obviously, it's going to take a while for me to get through this book. It's going to take a while to get through this first book. I have my particular concerns. Part of my concern is that if he's introducing that many characters, which characters am I going to care about? Am I going to care about any of them? Am I going to be able to sympathize and see the world through the eyes of any of these characters if they're just whipping by at a breakneck speed and there's not a whole lot of time maybe to sit in the mindset of any particular character and get their feeling of anything? I don't know, but everything that I've seen about this series, people have loved it. Maybe it's going to be worth my time. If after reading that first book, if I don't like it, I can always bail. And there's like a ton of stuff out there to read, but
plenty of books.
There are plenty of books, and there's some movies coming out. There's some shows, but there's a lot out there to excavate. There's a lot of stuff that's still interesting to see, and with streaming services, we're able to get to. And we have our books. We have our role-playing games. If the pipeline for new stuff dries up, there's plenty of stuff that's out there. So the question is, what do you want to dive into next? Well, I guess we'll see.
We shall see.
And with that said, we come to the end of episode 261. Thank you for listening, and tune in next time for the latest in geek news and views with the Geek Watch podcast. For Mandy Petrie, this is Brian Hatcher, reminding all the Geek Watchers out there, we're all geeky about something. Be proud of yours. See you next time.
Thank you for listening to the Geek Watch podcast. If you enjoyed this program, don't forget to like and subscribe on your preferred platform and share this podcast on your social media. For links to all the ways you can listen to the Geek Watch podcast, as well as leave comments and suggestions, visit our website at geekwatch.net. The Geek Watch podcast is a Hanging J production.